So, Kill Bill, it's a movie made by Quentin Tarantino. Very popular movie. And when I do these segments, I like to research the movie. Typically, I just like to watch how different people view different aspects of the movie and like what's their ideas of what each thing represents. And it was a lot harder to find that. A lot of people talking about the different Easter eggs in the film, which is all cool and whatnot. But personally, I found it a bit annoying when doing the research. One thing I'd like to point out is the idea of the female revenge story. A lot of people claim this as a female revenge story, and I agree. There's different conjecture about it. One of the big things is in the rape scene at the beginning of the movie, to where all this terrible stuff already happened to her, and having this rape scene almost seems like there needs to be a rape for there to be a female revenge story. And there's a lot of female revenge stories where that is a very common thing. But again, in Kill Bill, she already had her whole family killed, or that the family that she was trying to build kill, and her daughter was taken. So you don't need to add that on top of her. She was already going through a lot. And I agree. I think that, and also they didn't really elaborate on it, and there was a lot of weird comments about her sexually throughout the film, which just kind of comes off as a bit strange, in my personal opinion. One thing that Kill Bill does do well that I see a lot of movies fail at is just allowing there to be strong female characters, if that makes sense, to where they're just able to be badasses and fight and not have to not fall into any trope. They can be feminine and be a badass. They can be more masculine. It doesn't matter. I think Kill Bill did really well with that by having a lot of the major cast be women and have that be just an integral part and not question it. And in this research, I did watch a lot of these, or a couple of these Easter egg videos, just to see if there's any story implications and whatnot with them. It is very cool to see how much knowledge Quentin Tarantino has of film. It's cool and all. There's a part of it to where it does remind me a lot of the Marvel movies, which when I was younger, I used to love. I don't think Kill Bill is like a Marvel movie, but just all these videos treating it like one. I feel like there's a lot of thought and whatnot that can go into the usage of all these effects and whatnot. And for me, some of the editing choices and sound effects that were used in the film are callbacks to all these different films of that time that Quentin Tarantino really liked. And personally, it did pull me out of it because I wasn't used to all this this just stuff that's very up in your face. And so that did pull me out a little bit here and there. Again, I still really liked it. I thought it was a very fun film. Another choice that I thought was kind of interesting that they did throughout the film was not saying her name and not showing Bill. I think that's cool. I think it's cool to not show their name, but I feel like there was a lack of reason or meaning to it. What I mean by there's a lack of meaning behind it, at least I personally didn't really see there being much meaning, at least in the moment when it was revealed. Like, for example, Beatrix's name. There wasn't a big meaning, or there wasn't a big build up to it. Okay, so what I mean by that is how it just kind of flows out. There's no build up for what it would mean in a subjective manner or what it would mean in a moral manner in this moment. Like, is it a idea that is needed, or does it have subjective meaning on how it was revealed? They don't really have that. It was just kind of dropped out, and then you get the weird cutaway to her in elementary school or whatever, which I thought was kind of goofy. It would be cool to have it tied to something. You could maybe tie it to where after that she fights Bill and L Driver, now knowing her name. But again, it doesn't, because maybe it's it's more of a fight with her and them and less of a fight as her as this force. But if that is the case, it's not really shown, I feel like. At least maybe I missed it. There's a total chance. But that's another thing. And with the choice to now show Bill at the wedding, again, it doesn't need to have a giant build up to occur. I just personally, appreciate it when it has more of a thematic and story effect. Just, I don't know, just him just kind of showing up, and maybe it's because watching them back to back like I did became one film for me, and the last scene of him not being shown to pretty much the next scene in the next movie, him being shown, lacks a meaning, to me at least. And I feel like a choice like that should have more of a meaning to have, to where maybe he's also this force, and then he becomes human with the name or with the face. But that wasn't, at least I didn't pick up on that being a big case in this film. Also, another, I don't want to just go on all these gripes that I have on this film. I'm just in that flow, my outline right now. But the attack that Kiddo did on Bud is absurd to me. I personally think that an elite assassin, even if knocked out for 4 years or whatever, would know not to charge right in onto her enemy, or at least check out what her enemy is doing before charging right in. That if she checked to make sure that there was nothing even in front of the door, that would be that I would believe that maybe he was just hiding the gun. You couldn't tell. Again, being this elite assassin, just charging right in is crazy. That's something, she's hiding under it. She's hiding under it. It would make a lot more sense for her to already be inside than to charge through the door. Does that make sense? Because again, an elite assassin, she could just cut like a hole through the bottom in the bathroom and then just sit in there somewhere. You don't have to worry about that because you're an elite assassin. Does that make sense? That's another issue I had with the film. But the stuff that I did like, I'll go into that before breaking down the characters. But the stuff that I liked in the film was how they all talked and how they all interacted with each other. Again, that's a big thing with Quentin Tarantino, is how his characters feel and how they act. And I feel like they had a very strong presence in this film. For example, I really liked the fight with Vernita Green and Kiddo, because there was a lot of character throughout that fight and then to their conversation afterwards, and that was one of my favorites. I see why having that at the beginning of the movie. It's just it was just a great storytelling. I wish the drawing that I did for her, for Vernita Green, was a lot better for how much I felt about that fight, but it is what it is. I also do really like Bud's character. How he talks and whatnot is very fun, and how he just doesn't really care too much. And I really like Bill and how he holds himself, and how you get that was another thing that was cool, is get a lot of focus and a lot of characterization of Bill, which I think is a good choice, And that's another, going back to real quick about the female revenge story. I did see someone talk about how that could be a bad thing, how a lot of this focus is on Bill and not about Kiddo. Personally, I see Kiddo as this force of the past, and I think that being that, is a lot cool, is very cool. And I don't think it requires to have a lot of characterization, because she is getting a lot of characterization throughout this whole movie. I don't know. That was one of the, I liked it a lot. Also, the animation that they did for O-Ren Ishii's backstory is wild. That was so fun to watch. That was really cool. I enjoyed it a lot. I would love to make an animation in that style and a fight scene like that. That would be so cool. That was very fun to see. My friend mentioned about how it was a good use of animation as a tool in it, so you don't have to have a kid in that situation. Like, having a little kid on top of someone who's supposed to be a pervert in this movie is not good. So having it done through animation is a good way to prevent anything like that happening. They did a lot of really cool sword fighting throughout this film. The move to where Beatrix Kiddo just cut down 3 people and then hits her sword to stop the ringing, and then they drop. That was smooth. That was slick as fuck. And then sheathing Bill's sword as they're fighting. That was really cool as well. That a lot of that stuff like that. A lot of butter on my bread. You know what I mean? You get it. You get it. I really like a lot of the character dynamics, and now I'm gonna start talking about the characters. But again, I think Beatrix Kiddo represents this unstopping force as the past. Like, no matter what, the past will catch up to you. I like to try and web all the other characters into that idea. I'm just gonna start with BB. Her daughter obviously represents the future. I feel like that's pretty, at least in this theory that I'm cooking, I feel like that's an easy conclusion. That's why when she finds out that she has a kid, everything changes, because now the past has a future, something that she will build up for, and that's why she puts all her effort into that and changes. And then there's Bill. And again, another thing that I really liked is his talk about Superman, and how I personally view it as a really cool characterization moment, to where you can see how someone like Bill would view those characters, because he sees himself. So his relationship with the past, I think what he thinks is that no matter what, the past makes the present and makes who you are. And you can't change from that. That is who you are. And so he thinks that no matter what, he is a born killer. And so that's why he thinks that they're like Superman, like that's just who they are. And that's why he got really scared when Beatrix started making a whole family, because that means that someone that he also saw as just a normal, someone like him, a killer, can change and is not confined to the past. And that scared him. And so that's why he had to kill her, because it threatens his reality. That threatens that he can move on. That's why he let Vernita Green go, because he probably didn't see her the same as Kiddo. You know, they had a different relationship. At least I'm pretty sure. And so that's the reason why it hurt Bill so much, and so why he did that. And so that's why he sees Superman as Superman trying to be a human. And that's why Beatrix trying to be this wife and whatnot is the same. She's trying to become this other thing that's not her. That scene, I don't know, it was very cool to watch and very cool to see. And him trying to rationalize his existence almost. And that's why he asks her, do you think that life in El Paso would work? She says no, which kind of could maybe go against it. But I think that's just also maybe because she is all wrapped up in this and is very confused. But I personally think it would have worked. So I think she's just sad. I don't know. I can't just sum it up to that, but that's it's not really good evidence by just saying I don't know. But I feel like that gives, again, more character to her, because for her to move out there, she sees it more so as she's like doing that for her kid, her future, instead of for her. So maybe that life wouldn't work for her, but that wasn't the point of what she was going for. So maybe they had a misunderstanding of what each other was meaning by that. Also, the thing about him not being able to believe whatever she says and her not being able to tell the truth about him, it's a very interesting idea. Anyways, okay, so next up, Oranishi. And her connection to the past is that she's apologetic towards it. She realizes the wrongs of her ways. She says that she's sorry for, I think it was joking about you or making fun of you or something like that. And that could be seen as then or even before during the wedding rehearsal. It shows that you can move on and then you can become remorseful of the past, but it will still catch up to you. She cut Kiddo in the back, and that could also represent almost this betrayal of the past, or this not wanting to confront it almost. And so that's why she apologizes too late. When she decapitates the other leader of the Yakuza for talking about her family bringing, it's a clear thing that her past and all that is something that she has a very tight connection with, because of her family. She saw them die, and she probably has a lot of emotion towards that, and so she doesn't really want someone to talk bad about that. And her understanding that no matter what, I can't run away from this, and I can't just cut off someone's head and whatnot. She gets scalped or whatever, and then she's just, I am sorry, and even that, the past will catch up, and so she kills her. And then there's Venita Green, and she was actually able to move on. She made a family, she had a wife and kids, and that's probably due to Bill letting her go, because he didn't have that connection like Bill had to Kiddo. But again, she moved on. She had this whole family. She tried to forget. She knows that what she did was wrong, and she felt like she had no remorse for it. She tried to sneak that gun up and shoot Kiddo, but even then, the past still catches up. Can't forget it. It'll catch up. And then there's Bud. He was accepting of the past. He understood that he should die, and she also needs to die. He's understanding of the fact that is the past is the past, And I think that's probably the reason why he dies to the snake, Black Mamba, and not actually the hands of Kiddo, because he was accepting of it. But he also chose greed. That's why he has all the money around him in the drawing. But he chose greed. And that's also maybe why the snake itself killed him, because you can maybe see that as a snake thing, that he's a snake. You could also see it as he was close, but he didn't get the right answer to how to treat the past. So then he died still. Also, I just think, I don't know, I don't really want to tie too much of the snake to it. I like the idea of the snake more so just being a cover-up that El Driver does, instead of actually being tied to Kiddo, because that wasn't Kiddo's actions. Yes, it's the same name, but again, Kiddo herself didn't catch up to Bud. And then there's El Driver, and so I think El Driver's connection to Beatrix Kiddo is that she is blind to the past, and that's why she gets her eye removed. She doesn't really care for it, but she does have this type of respect and understanding for the past. She understands that she's a great warrior and whatnot, but she still thinks she's above it. She just hasn't had her chance to show that she's above the past. And so that's why she dies by Kiddo, because she tried to avoid it, and then it caught up to her. And so instead of killing her, she blinds her and leaves her alive, but blinded, to represent what happened and represent that you can't be blind to the past. The fact that everybody else dies by Kiddo except Bud and El Driver is kind of interesting. I don't think they're necessarily connected, but I just think that is interesting that does happen, and kind of back to back. Another thing, I don't really know how to tie in Pai Mei and Hidetori Hanzo, besides the fact that, so Padme, they both trained Bill, but Padme trained Kiddo more so on the art of defense, I feel like, in attacking and whatnot with your hands. And Hidetori Hanzo was more so I don't know if he really trained with sword techniques, but he did train. But he at least made it and helped make the sword. So Padme made the hand that pulls the trigger, and Hattori made the gun, I guess, is the analogy for this. And so I think Padme, the reason why like Bill actually got hit while Kiddo, no like damaging punch was at least made. I don't remember if he really did hit her or if he was just blocking the entire time. It's because I think Padme felt disrespected by Bill, he would have killed him. But I think he still felt something, so that's why he punched him and whatnot. And I think it's because Padme kind of realizes who Bill is or who he's becoming and doesn't agree to that, and so he punches him or hurts him in whatever way and has like a fight about it. I don't think it's really about the fact that Bill is trying to have Kiddo a woman will not train under him, but I think it's just more so I think it's separated in an act from Padme trying to do something, like understanding that he didn't train Bill correctly, and so that's why he takes on Kiddo, Bill's student, to help train her how he should have trained Bill. That's why like the whole thing with if you're gonna eat the rice with your hands like a dog, then you have to sleep outside like a dog. Like I cannot treat you with that respect. And I think he must have given a similar respect. The same reason why they don't kill Kiddo in their sleep is probably due to his teachings. I think what maybe Padme missed to communicate to Bill is that it's not that like you don't kill them in the sleep because that's what like the scum do, but it's because you give them that respect. And you give them a chance to choose. You don't just kill them to kill them. There's a respect for it, and respect for them as a person. And so maybe that's what he was upset about, was something like that. And then Hattori Hanzo, realizing that it's not like he sees that these swords are made to kill people. And I think that the reason why he starts to make a new sword for Kiddo is because he sees that it's not really the sword's fault. The sword could just sit there and never kill, but it's the act that someone does to do it that kills someone. And so he sees that he can make a sword to stop that. And so that's why he makes a sword again, is because he can see that he can stop this killing from happening to kill Bill. That's my whole gist of everything. I really like the film. I really like the trying to break and connect everything to this past. I don't know if I connected the characters as well as they should. I feel like they fit similarly to what I mentioned, but I don't know if it's correct. And I am definitely going to probably continue to think on their connection to that throughout time. But that was a really fun film to talk about with people. Sorry if you heard anyone talking in the background. That's probably my brother coming in and out of his room because I think he's playing Minecraft or something. I don't know. He was very eager about it, but yeah. And what it was is that he got an ace on Rainbow Six Siege, so that's why that he was wooing and whatnot. But yeah, it was very funny.